Hello, gamers! Today, I'm going to introduce the game Metal Mech. Man and Machine is a side-scrolling action platformer video game developed by Sculptured Software and published by Jaleco for the Nintendo Entertainment System, NES. Released in 1990, the game places players in control of a powerful mech suit, which can be piloted by a human character who can also exit the suit to explore areas on foot. The game blends elements of platforming, shooting, and exploration, offering a unique gameplay experience on the NES. Gameplay. In Metal Mech, Man and Machine, players control a mech pilot who can switch between piloting a giant, heavily armed mech and exiting the mech to explore on foot. This dual gameplay mechanic is central to the game, as different situations require either the firepower and protection of the mech or the agility and maneuverability of the human pilot. Key gameplay elements include mech controls. While in the mech, players have access to powerful weapons, such as cannons and missiles, that can destroy enemies and obstacles. The mech can also jump and move through the game's levels, which are filled with various enemies, environmental hazards, and platforms. The mech is durable and can take more damage than the human pilot, but it's also larger and less agile, making it harder to navigate tight spaces. On-foot exploration, players can exit the mech at any time to control the human pilot directly. On foot, the pilot is much smaller and more agile, allowing access to areas the mech cannot reach, such as narrow corridors or high platforms. However, the pilot is also more vulnerable to damage and has weaker weaponry, making these sections more challenging. Players often need to exit the mech to find items or switches needed to progress in the game. Level design. The game's levels are non-linear, with multiple paths, hidden areas, and items to discover. Players must often backtrack and explore thoroughly to find the key items needed to progress, such as power-ups or ammunition. The levels are set in a variety of environments, including urban landscapes, industrial complexes, and underground tunnels. Enemies and bosses. The game features a variety of enemies, from smaller ground troops to large, mechanized bosses. These enemies require different strategies to defeat, especially when balancing the strengths and weaknesses of both the mech and the human pilot. Boss battles typically require precise movement and heavy use of the mech's weapons to overcome. Power UPS. Throughout the levels, players can find power-ups that enhance the mech's capabilities, such as increased firepower, additional armor, or extra lives. These power-ups are essential for surviving the more difficult parts of the game, especially the tougher enemy encounters and boss fights. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.